Welcome to today's episode, the podcast where we discuss the most recent installment of a different series every show. It's Friday, May 16th. We're going to check in on Nathan Fillion's career. You've seen a lot of his projects before in the past. Name everyone that you know.
Dr. Horrible, Sing-Along Blog, Suicide Squad, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first and third one. I don't think I've ever seen him as, like, the main character in anything before, though.
Have you seen him in Slither?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Main character in that. He was in that weird PG porn YouTube series that James Gunn did.
James Gunn did, yeah.
Yeah, and now he's going to be in the next Superman movie that James Gunn is doing.
He's going to be Green Lantern,
He's Green
right?
Lantern, and he's also coming out with his own Green Lantern series. He's
Called
not
Lanterns.
Hal Jordan, though. Oh, so you know all about this.
Yeah.
Do you know how many Green Lanterns there have been in, like, the comics?
In the comics?
More
No.
or less than Robins.
I would assume so.
No,
Yeah?
I'm asking, like, more or less.
More.
Yes, you're right, because Robins, there have been about 5 to 8, depending on how you want to count them, and Green Lanterns, there's about 10 of them, based in on Earth, not just all the Green Lanterns on that one planet. I know there's like a billion of them then. Yeah, so he's going to be doing that. He's 54 years old right now. He's deaf in one ear. He has been since he was a kid. I didn't know that. He's the 9th cousin once removed of Justin Trudeau. His biggest break that everybody knows him from is Firefly. The short-lived Fox series came out in 2002. Do you know who actually started their career on Firefly? Zac Efron.
Zac Efron was on Firefly?
His first role was in Firefly, yeah. You learn something new every day.
And then they came out with a movie, right? Serenity in like 2005 to finish it.
Yes. So he's got one of those careers that he's kind of connected to every single person that you can think of. In Castle and The Rookie, they've had so many guest stars, some that I didn't even know about. Where Chadwick Boseman was in Castle. will.i.am has shown up as himself. Mark Cuban. Pete Davidson plays his half-brother. I really didn't know anything about The Rookie until we watched this finale to season 7, other than the fact that it was about a rookie cop. And that the cop was like 40-some years old.
I didn't know that it had been on for 7 years.
Yeah, it went by fast, didn't it? Even with the pandemic and the delays with that, it's getting an 8th season. And in season 7, episode 17, the one right before, we missed Flula Borg from the Pitch Perfect series. Bumper in Berlin. That's where you talked about him. And then Wolfgang Puck, the chef, was in that. So yeah, they have a ton of celebrity guest stars. And in this, he plays John Nolan. Fillion plays John Nolan, badge number 25253. That's very close to my credit card pin, concerningly so. Yeah, but it's based on real life. William Norcross, he joined the LAPD, I think in 2015. He was in his mid-40s after leaving a family printing business in Pennsylvania. Already renewed for season 8, like I said. They get about 3 to 3.5 million people per episode tuning in on ABC. ABC with Will Trent and High Potential have made The Rookie, those three together, like very successful over the last couple of years. So they've all been renewed. They're all coming back. And as far as season 7 plot lines that we should just be aware of when we were entering this episode, we missed a storyline that just got resolved where there was a guy named Seth who had been lying about cancer, his cancer diagnosis. He gets kicked off the force for that, but then he sues and he comes back. Now, this isn't the first show that we've seen someone lie about having cancer. We've got Mr. Throwback, we've got apple cider vinegar, and I think there was another one. Do you remember what the last one was?
No, I don't.
Okay, so there was that, and then also Lucy and Tim, who we do see in this episode, are kind of the Ross and Rachel. They've got a big fan base that they call them Chenford.
I was going to say, yeah, I kept seeing Chenford everywhere.
I think that's a combination of their last names. They're like Jim and Pam, and people are like, what gives? They broke up last year, but they're clearly still in love, and that sort of gets resolved, but let's see if it gets resolved in the way that most people want it to. And then villains of note, Monica Stevenson and Oscar Hutchinson. Those are the big two.
I think people really like Oscar, right?
Oscar shows up like once every season. And he's kind of like a crazy dude. He does prison breaks and hostage situations. You name it, he's done it. He throws around a dismembered arm in this episode.
I thought that before I kind of knew more about it, I thought he was just going to be like a villain of the week villain.
The name of the episode was The Good, the Bad, and the Oscar. So you knew that he was weird. And then do you want to play a game to start it, or do you want to go right into the episode?
Let's do the game.
All right. So this was actually created by a twin. And so the name of the game is Twins, Which One Did It? So the show was created by Alexi Hawley, who's twins with Noah Hawley, who you know from Fargo and Legion. And he's actually coming out with a new show, Alien, which is based on Alien Earth, which is based on the Alien franchise, with Kyle Chandler's daughter playing the main role. Timothy Oliphant's going to be in that. And then the End of the Fucking World kid, Asa Butterfield's stunt double. I'm just kidding. That's not really who that
Black
is.
the Black Mirror show up and
Yes.
dance. Yeah,
And he
yeah.
was also in Andor recently. They're going to be starring in that. Alexi, on the other hand, who created this, also created The Recruit, which you watched.
Yes,
Would
and
you?
had Nathan Fillion, right?
Did it? That would
I
you?
think it did.
That's crazy. Really? Okay, that's cool. It makes sense because he also wrote for Castle and was an executive producer, so everybody knows everybody. Which one of these two, though, created The Unusuals? That was the show starring Jeremy Renner and Amber Tamblyn. The New York Police Department detective series ran for like one season as well. And you compared this show to that, The Rookie to this
Right.
show, even without knowing it at the time when we watched it. And I was just like, okay, well, that's convenient. So which one of them actually created it? Alexi, the one who created this show, or Noah?
I'm gonna go with Alexi.
Alexi did not. It was actually Noah
Really? It
Hawley,
was
one of his
Noah?
earlier works. Yes, he created the Unusuals. He also wrote for Bones. So they're both used to that kind of systematic, formulaic cop show solving mysteries, right? And then this show also stars Sean Ashmore as, I think, Wesley. And Sean Ashmore is known from X-Men, and where he plays Mr. Freeze or whatever,
Right.
and Frozen, where he does not play Mr. Freeze, but he almost he almost ends up as Mr. Freeze. And then Aaron Ashmore is his brother, who was in Lock and Key and Killjoys.
I remember,
Which
yeah.
one of them was Lamplighter in The Boys?
Was it Sean?
The one from this?
Yeah.
That's correct. Yes. I mean, how can you tell? They're the same. But okay. And then speaking of The Boys, though, who voices the octopus in that, or the squid, or whatever it is?
Tilda Swinton, right?
Correct. But Nathan Fillion also voices an octopus. But in what show?
I
You
don't.
do know this one. Alan Tudyk.
Doom Patrol?
No, the Resident Alien.
Alien,
Yes,
yeah,
there's the talking
yeah.
octopus. That's also an alien. Yeah. So yeah, season 7, episode 18, The Good, the Bad, and the Oscar. It's the finale. It's about 40 to 50 minutes. We both watched it. There's 4 storylines. Why don't you go ahead and break them down?
I have 3, and then I'll save the big one for last. But the first one is Lucy. She's just to her new role as a night shift sergeant. She's realizing that people are sleeping on the job, and then she's even having to, kind of figure that out. Miles, he's preparing for a date. He's on a dating app, and then it ends up going a completely ludicrous way.
Haywire. Yeah.
And then also we have Julius. This is a man that's robbed a bank for a woman that he never met, but believed that was going to be his extra soulmate on top of the wife that he already has.
The AI catfish bank heist. Yes.
And then we have Nolan. This is the main one. He's trying to get Oscar because he's learned that Oscar,
his white whale.
Yeah, Oscar is looking for these diamonds, and he's trying to stop him before he gets there.
And Oscar, like we said, he's been everywhere and everything over the last few years. He most recently escaped from prison, and so Nolan's really wanted to catch this guy. And so he thinks he has a lead because his co-conspirator had been let out of jail, and he figures that if Oscar had had the money that they had robbed originally, he'd be off living in, Aruba somewhere. But instead, because he hasn't, it's pretty clear that this one guy knows where the diamonds are. And so that's why Nolan knows he has to kind of just stake out that vicinity of where the guy's staying, and eventually Oscar will show up.
And that person that ended up being let out of jail, we don't even see. We see his dead body, but we never actually see him alive.
Right.
He has his arm chopped off.
Dismembered, yep.
Oscar has taken it. He's using it as a map. It was very, not Hit Monkey, Bad Monkey-esque.
It was. Yancey does the same thing. He has an arm that is not only dismembered, but it's gone through where it's frozen in a middle finger pose, where it's just flicking him off the whole time. And I would say their temperament between John Nolan's character and Andrew Yancey are very similar. But the show itself, I would think, is just silly, because it's not Angie Tribeca, LAPD, or Tacoma FD level absurd, but it's not Blue Blood's seriousness either.
No, there was a lot of comedy. I mean, Oscar was just cracking jokes the whole entire time.
And it felt like there were more criminals hunting police than police hunting criminals in this episode. Oscar ended up staking out Nolan instead of the other way around.
By the way, I'm sorry, Oscar just to me as a villain seemed like the most sloppiest villain. He doesn't clean up any blood. He leaves the dead body in the room, doesn't even try to hide it. I mean, I get that this guy was supposed to be an intimidating villain, but
all the villains were really bad, because I was going to say the gang that plotted to take and kidnap the officer on the Tinder date,
Miles,
they're discussing their plan right outside the window.
That was the most hilarious part, because it's you would think that maybe Miles would be able to figure it out by context clues or
He
he
did.
would.
He saw the necklace
No,
that she was wearing, and
that's the
he
only
figured it out.
context clues, but like you're saying, he's in the kitchen, he pokes his head through the window, they're in a circle, and they're not even trying to be discreet about it. They're like, "We're gonna take him. We're gonna shove him in the car. We're
Yeah,
going
and
to
you've seen
kidnap
Sons of
him."
Anarchy and Mayans MC and all those gang-related shows. Is that how they take cops? They just,
Never.
like, send their sister out to go seduce one, and then they grab him and stick him in a car? Like, what was their plan after that? Then, like, to but you're right, then it turns into sort of a Fast and
It
Furious
was a cross
scenario.
between Kingsman 2. Kingsman 2 has the beginning scene is almost exactly like what happened here. Fast and Furious and 21 Jump Street.
Right. They pull out an AK and they're like shooting that thing out in the middle of LA. And what are the police all doing at the same time? Instead of going for criminals, they're just sleeping. They're doing the midnight shift, the dream team. I really like that name for them. It was all the police squadrons, or just the police squadron all parked out in a parking lot. And so once they get the page that Miles is in trouble, then they jump into action. They kick
And
it into gear.
yeah, I know we're jumping all around, but if we can just talk about the ending there, Angela is forced to save Nolan with this like 16-year-old kid. There's like no other cops.
Oh,
That
that's
are
not
joining
Angela.
her.
No.
Oh,
That's
sorry. You're right. That's Nyla, right?
Nyla,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Nyla.
and not only that, she, like you said, with the kid, but the way that she gets the kid is she convinces the mom that the kid is going to be completely safe. He has a drone, and she sees the utility in using that drone. And so she speeds off in her SUV, deputizes this child, and then he, for some reason or another, is able to use this drone that has the power of like a military drone to go miles and miles
Yeah. So far ahead of them.
farther than the SUV can go, which usually I think consumer models only can go like 5 miles, and those are the really expensive ones. And it's able to go at a rate like hundreds of miles an hour because it gets there way quicker than the SUV, which is booking at 70 or at least on the dirt road, and no other cars are around. I don't understand how it beats them to where where Oscar has taken Nolan, but it does, and then he uses it to kind of Spider-Man him. You know, the first Spider-Man, they just take out Oscar using the drone itself.
Yeah, just run right into him. I don't understand why there weren't at least like 5 police cars that at that point were like, "Oh, okay, you're going here. Just we'll track you," and we're going with her because she does call for backup right before she leaves.
Right, but she's the first one on the scene. So, like, she just went first, and then I assume the backup was pretty soon afterwards.
It doesn't matter. Usually, police backup is able to come pretty fast.
But they're in the middle of the desert. This part I completely can understand and can, like, fight them out. What I can't is the helicopter being so prepared to go help Oscar. Like, it came out of nowhere, and he escapes once again.
Like,
but
you
if he
wouldn't
had
hear
the
it.
ability... No, again, that makes sense to me because helicopters can make a big distance in a little amount of time. But if he had the wherewithal to have the helicopter ready, why was he having Nolan dig up the stuff? Like, it seems
Yeah,
like he had
right.
more than enough utilities at his disposal that he could have gotten those diamonds really quickly and then popped out of there. He didn't even necessarily have to kidnap Nolan. He just did it for kicks.
Well, yeah, I think that it was also kind of like a power level type thing where he's trying to embarrass Nolan in some way.
Absolutely. I think you've got a point there. They also, I wonder what they ended up doing with that dismembered arm. And of course, we have to talk about the last storyline, which is the bank heist one.
Right. So yeah, Julius, they catch him because he he runs out of breath as he's running away from the bank.
Where was his getaway car?
I have no idea. I think he was thinking he was going to get away on foot.
This was a 45-year-old man who walked into and did you recognize him? He was from like For All Mankind
No,
and a
I
bunch of
didn't.
other stuff. But yeah, he came in with a big old bag and he stuffed it full of cash, and then he's running down the street and the cash is flying everywhere. And that's how that's when I realized the show was not even trying to be a little bit like credible in some scenes. And then in other ones, they mark up the drama a little bit.
Well, Julius's storyline was definitely, I think, supposed to be the most funniest just because of how ridiculous and pathetic his character was, trying to find this money so that he could get a woman he's never met. But
Right.
hopes
And
to
it's not
woo.
what was it? I think Missing You or what was the other, but Fool Me Once.
Yeah.
One of those had a storyline where people were being catfished in a similar manner. The difference is that the catfishing would be highly sophisticated. Like, they would definitely have a lot of people calling in and stuff and making sure that the person fell for it, rather than one picture done by who we find out later is the wife of him
Where
already.
she has 7 fingers, or the picture has 7
Yes,
fingers on one hand.
it's a very dated AI reference because, like, I'm assuming in a couple years, everybody who sees, like, a picture like, the AI won't have a problem doing 5 fingers on each
Yeah.
hand, and everybody's gonna be like, "Remember those couple years in, like, the mid-2020s where that was a big deal and that was the
SNL
joke?"
made the same joke, like, a couple months ago.
Right, so I just don't think they have to do it now, otherwise it's not going to apply in a couple years. But the funniest part to me was that they do arrest him for robbing the bank, right?
Yes.
And then they catch the wife having been the one who, like, kind of convinced him that she was this other lady who needed the money, right?
Mhm.
But what she wanted him to do and what she was asking him to do when she was the AI created, I guess, mistress, is she wanted him to take their money out of the personal funds, which technically are still hers,
Yeah.
and then give them to this other lady who she, I assume, was going to make another account for and, like, transfer that, make it happen, right?
Right.
She didn't necessarily break the law because she didn't ask him to rob a bank and she didn't ask him to take money that wasn't hers. And
So
they led her away in handcuffs.
so
And they
you're saying
said,
she really didn't do
did they
anything wrong?
arrest her for being a bad wife?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because this
'Cause
was not fraud.
she
And she
was
didn't ask him to rob the bank. And they acted at the end of that episode like she had done something just
They
as bad
acted
as him.
no, they acted like she was worse than him because
Yes.
she had, like, orchestrated this plan, but I didn't even think about that. Yes,
It's her
she
money. She wasn't trying to steal anybody's money besides her own. Like, it
She said that she was trying to get more than 50-50. That's
Yeah,
the reason she didn't
but
get
that
a
was
divorce.
once they got divorced.
Yeah,
So,
right, I
if
know.
everything had worked as planned and she had received the money, she hadn't told him about it, and then divorced him, that would have been fraud.
Right.
That would have been where she broke the law. But planning it out like she had, and at the moment where since he's the one who acted spontaneously to rob the bank, and she never had a part in that, she should be let off scot-free, I think. Like, I don't see how they what did they arrest her for? And she also had no lawyer. So
She was supposed to be just, like,
she
very
just
scummy, like a bad person, I guess.
yeah, and I guess in this world that's enough to just send you to jail forever. They definitely checked out for this finale because they did pay for a helicopter. They had the street race. You had the two big bads show up. The final twist being they bring in so the
Right, what was
rookie
her name again?
Monica.
Monica,
Yeah,
yeah. She had, like she not only took Moriarty's line from Sherlock, and that's the way they closed it out, but she had such a strut, it reminded me very much of, Severance.
so we find out from Oscar directly when Nolan's asking him about it how he escaped that was arranged with Monica's help. And Monica, I guess, is already in jail. However, she's pulling so many strings that she ends up getting the government, the NSA. She's blackmailing them, and she's like, the only way that I'm not going to release some information that's going to really hurt you guys is if you let me free. It reminded me a lot of in 24 when Nina Myers did something similar, where she had killed a lot of people and she was asking Jack Bauer to get direct approval from the president that she would be let free, and then he shoots her. So
Yeah,
that's the
right.
difference in 20 years. Like, now we just let them go. No, and so she's going to obviously play a part and impact in the next season. And then Lucy and Tim's storyline, how does that resolve?
Yeah, so Tim, he's giving this big speech. Lucy's very tired. He's made her this big meal, and he's saying that he knows he did something wrong. I assume that we've seen that in other
I
seasons.
think it's anger. Like, I think he has anger issues.
But
That's based on how he was treating Miles, and I don't think that he's recovered from those.
yeah, I mean, that was I found that a little unfair to Miles because I mean, they were talking and then he, like, just kind of blows up on him. But yeah, no, Tim, he's saying how, he's really worked on himself and how he thinks they're a good fit and that they should move in together. And then we realize that she's been asleep.
Right.
Lucy's been asleep
And
this whole time.
I don't think it's betraying any fans to just say that a lot of people were upset that they kind
I
of
would
went
imagine they would
because
be.
it doesn't even really change where they were a season ago. And so to me, it felt like two steps forward, one step back. And the way that the showrunners could have easily resolved that, or showrunner could have easily resolved that, is just have, like, at the last scene showing them moving in together, or like having some form of commiseration between the two of them.
I thought there was a chance, and then the second I realized there'd be no reason for them to do this was when I was like, "Oh, that's why they didn't go with it." But I was like, maybe she's, like, hearing him, but just not wanting to address him right now, and she's asleep?
Oh, like, this is an awkward
Yeah,
situation for me.
yeah.
I think there's more likelihood that she saw that much food and she just fell asleep because of, like, not wanting to eat that. Like, do you realize how much he was making? They had, like, 50 croissants
Yeah,
there, and he was
veggie burgers and all that.
there's no way they could have destroyed all that. And so yeah, tomorrow we didn't talk about because she kind of plays a less impact in this episode. It does feel like I need to point out some just basic facts about police in general. LAPD is better than some other police departments, but they still have an 81% men to 19% female ratio. And yet, if you're watching this show, it feels more like 50-50. Also, it seems like everybody that's a cop in the show is dating another cop or
Yes,
married to
well,
another cop.
that's how usually these cop things work, these cop shows work.
I don't
Same
watch a
thing.
lot of them. Is that true? But it's like literally there's 3 couples, and the one time that the guy was trying to get out and date someone new, that immediately backfires. So it seems like it's definitely like congested into we can only date each other.
Well, think about a medical show. I mean, it's the same way with, doctors,
Scrubs.
nurses, Grey's Anatomy.
But JD would often go out and date others. Like, I see what you're saying with maybe Carla and Turk, but yeah. Police can't commandeer cars anymore in LA. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
And, I learned I learned that today. And then also, yeah, when the kid didn't ask for the drone to be replaced, he said, "I got the best footage." Is he just not understanding how much that specific drone was worth? Because that was a drone that could beat out an SUV, fly for like it was like a military drone that he'd been sold that he didn't even realize it and he didn't even want to get paid back for.
It also hit Oscar very hard, like you were saying, kind of military, like, and it was still able to fly around and stuff. It's not
Yes,
like
but it
broke.
didn't Peter Parker him. Or it didn't who ended up Green Lantern him, right? No, Green Goblin. It did not Green Goblin him. It did not split him in half. Yeah, so what do you give this episode?
Okay, well, actually, I want to talk about my pros first before I go into a rating. I think that this is when just talking about pure entertainment, the show definitely has it. I really liked Oscar as a villain. I think the thing that kind of like sold me on him was when he pulled out the arm. He was very much reminded me of Jesse Plemons or Todd from El Camino. In fact, that scene where he's driving Nolan in the back of the car was literally a scene that Todd did in El Camino where he's driving Jesse in the back of the car while singing a song. And I wasn't really annoyed with any of the characters. That being said, as a finale goes, I can definitely see why fans would not be happy. It doesn't resolve much.
It's a
Yes,
show that they want to run like Grey's Anatomy forever and ever and ever.
but let's say, just talking about all the ends of the storylines. Oscar doesn't escape with the diamonds, yes, but he still escapes. Miles' dating story never even tied back into anything once
He
it got.
said he didn't want to date
Yeah,
anyone.
but that was it. Tim gives a full monologue, and then yeah, Lucy's asleep, and even Monica being let off scot-free, if she's as big a villain as they think she is, that's not really a story. It's just like, oh, okay, she's back out now, and she's gonna wreak havoc.
But you're forgetting that they trapped a wife. Like the wife is going to prison, no matter what. Like that storyline got resolved.
So just given all of that, also Shawn Ashmore says like 2 lines in this finale. I'm going to give the series a 5 out of 10 because I think that the viewers would probably be more mad than I was because it's like you don't resolve anything in this episode.
I think this transcends the old people TV thing. It's even found a life on like TikTok with like short little
Oh,
things,
okay.
probably because of the funniness of like the random jokes. It kind of feels like a Monk or Psych era type show. And so I would give it a 6 out of 10. I think it was better than the regular episode. And that's just because they like threw in some extra comedy and some entertainment in there.
I liked it more than things like I said, Up East New York. It reminded me a lot of Tracker. I even liked it more than Tracker, and I had Criminal Minds listed here as well.
Cool. So, but it wasn't anything spectacular. I guess if you just like, it's exactly what I wanted it to be. If I ever tune into it again, I'm sure I'll find the same level of entertainment and like it, but it's definitely not a show that I'm going to be tuning in week to week to find out what happens next.
As insane as it was, my favorite part was the dating thing just because of how extreme everything was. I mean, he's able to spot it with the necklace and then it just goes crazier and crazier and crazier until that minigun is out there firing all around. Right?
Machine gun, yeah.
AK-47, yeah.
And then they catch them and they don't even really wink at it. It's just like these guys are caught they're in jail
I'm
now.
gonna stop dating for a while.
Right. In a normal series, I guess it would have been like that was a major climactic moment where the gang was broken up. Like, had they arrested 10 members, back to the Sons of Anarchy comparison, but if they had arrested 10 members of Sons of Anarchy, the cops had them
Yeah.
on a road rage incident where they were shooting people up. Wouldn't that be half the club?
Prison break time, yeah, no, or something,
And
yeah.
that was all, it was half the club. And the sole thing that they were trying to get out of that was a kidnapped cop.
It
Like,
would have
it just
been
wouldn't be worth it.
it would have been 1,000 times better orchestrated than "Let's slam him."
All right. So to finish this off, our crime shows that we've done besides this cop crime shows, Good Cop, Bad Cop, Long Bright River, Adolescence. Adolescence is still going to be at the top of that.
Mhm.
But I think it's kind of like Good Cop, Bad Cop. You can see the comparison. And according to Collider, they agree with you. They said this is a show that feels like it's never going to stop streaming along. And so fans are mad that they're just milking that Chenford storyline. And then, yeah, that's about all I have. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.